And welcome into the Wednesday edition. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you on this Wednesday morning. Brought to you by First Horizon. Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. And I don't even know if I can ask Joe Rexrode how he's doing because I think I know. Joe, I'm sorry. It's a tough day for you here.
Yeah.
Nick Westbrook-Akine.
Oh, that one.
Heading to the Dolphins.
I thought you were talking about something else. Yeah, like the excitement about basketball. Yeah, that's a tough one with Nick Westbrook-Akine. I'm actually more disappointed. I didn't think he'd be here. I thought he'd be in New England. I now join those who think that Mike Vrabel's going to lose. I mean, Mike Vrabel should have picked up with Nick Westbrook-Akine. It's the most obvious thing in the world. He got Landry and who else did he get up there? He's got, he obviously got like coaches
Hooper
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Austin Hooper up there.
Yeah.
I feel like there's somebody I'm not thinking of, but
that
just seemed like a no-brainer. But no, I'm still doing really well today. I will say though, I think that the shirt I'm wearing may be a little too tight for me. See, Katie got me a couple extra large shirts. I was like, "What's your size? Extra large," but they're slim fit.
Yes.
I should never have slim fit shirts. So I'm trying to wear a nice shirt to the SEC tournament today.
She's just trying to help you out with the TV shows, man. You just never know.
Well, it doesn't help me out with TV shows if I look like a pig in a blanket, like a squeeze. I mean, look here. If you're watching,
is that the same shirt that you wore on Paul Feinbaum? Maybe not. I don't know.
Could be. I don't know. Oh, when he was here, I mean, maybe I don't know.
Maybe
I've had a lot of shirts. This is like but then they get old. So just look at me right here, if you're viewers.
I think it's looking good.
I think you're fine.
I mean, it's squeezing, man. It's squeezing a little tight. Do I want to walk around? You got 4 basketball games today at Bridgestone. 4 basketball games.
That's a lot.
So that's like 2. Now they can last about 2.5 hours, and then there's a half hour between games. So you do the math. I mean, I don't know, man. I have a backup bigger shirt in the car.
That's good.
Yeah. So we'll see. I'll ask Kaharski if this makes me look fat.
I'm sure he'll give you a nice level-headed response.
Yeah, he'll be very gentle, kind.
I'm sure he will. We will have Paul Kuharski with us later in the program. We'll get into all things Titans and NFL free agency with him. NWI does end up with the Dolphins. That is not necessarily the spot that I had him pegged. I thought, New England did make a lot of sense from actually a lot of different standpoints, but not the case. But Westbrook-Akine going down to be the newest member of the Miami Dolphins. What's he getting? 3.5? Or it's less than 3.5, isn't it?
Well, it's 2 years, 6 something, I think. Then it's a 3.5 guaranteed.
3.5 guaranteed.
So getting 3 a year. He'll play both those years of the deal. Get the whole deal. Yeah, I mean, good for him. Pick up $6 million here from a career that, again, if you were there for that first camp with Nick Westbrook-Akine here, you would have said that guy will never play a snap in the NFL. And it's amazing that he played a snap of college football. And good for him. I mean, seriously, like he couldn't catch the football. Yeah. It's like, wow. And that guy has worked. He is maxed out, man. That guy's maxed out.
He is. So congratulations to NWI. A sad day here on our program. I mean, immediately when this happened yesterday, Joe, I had people tweeting me, asking if you were okay.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm probably not. I don't know what to say.
Again, I've assumed that he was moving on, So but again, I was actually excited, as we've talked about, like for the New England Patriots announcement. It's like, yes, this makes sense. Aaron Brewer, NWI, Cody Hollister, Dr. Jack now. Apparently,
yes,
the Titans didn't tender him, right? I don't think they tendered him. Dr. Jack, Gibby, get up there to New England.
It does make you wonder, like, outside of Calvin Ridley, who in the world's playing receiver for this team? I have no idea.
Well, for sure. I mean, look, you could definitely make the case for the Titans and all. Like, as much as we joke about NWI and everything, guy who had 9 touchdowns last year. That, again, like a 3/4 for you, who can plug in wherever you need it, whenever inevitably someone gets hurt. Pretty valuable.
Yeah, I mean, Treylon Burks is still on the roster. I mean, I guess right now he's in the mix at some point.
I guess, man.
But I mean, they're going to have to draft a couple guys here.
Well, they're going to sign someone.
They're going to sign somebody, but like if you want your receiving core to be like have a pulse to it, like you're going to have to draft a couple guys.
Yeah. They've had some years where like the sort of like the either UDFA or just like, real bottom of the barrel free agency, like Marcus Johnson that year, remember?
Yeah.
And it was like, I mean, actually,
he had a 100-yard game.
He was good. Like he could not stay healthy. And that's, again, the story with a lot of guys. But I mean, I feel like it's going to have to be some guys like that on top of, you're right. I mean, if they draft 2 receivers, I think that would make total sense. It's just the other needs are also there too. I mean, there's a lot of signings that come with the Titans, and that'll help kind of tell the story. But obviously they're not doing much here early.
No, they're not. They did sign former Panthers safety Xavier Woods yesterday, 2-year, $10 million deal for him. So you've addressed the safety spot. Javon Holland signs with the Giants yesterday, which was reportedly a player that the Titans were interested in that Cam Wolfe threw out there. But they do land a safety in Xavier Woods. And the biggest thing about him is he's been incredibly healthy and durable over his career. So you like that part of it heading into Nashville here. But it looks like Woods, Hooker, the safety duo this year for the Titans.
Yeah, and Woods is a good player, solid player. That's a solid sign. They had to do something. They have to – well, again, you can fill in the depth there with some journeymen. You got some other guys, around still. I would not hate at some point a drafted safety, for the Titans. But again, it's like keep going down the list and tell me how many picks they have, and then let's do the math on what they can do and what they can't do.
Well, we keep talking. I mean, they can use a lot of picks.
They could,
which you're probably not going to get if you draft Cam Ward number 1 overall.
Yeah, you're going to get more picks if you don't. I think.
We'll see what happens with the Giants and the quarterbacks and all those things, but it's an interesting spot that the Titans are in right now. So they get the safety together there. They're still, when you're looking at the totality of the moves right now, and there's just not a ton. Titans Twitter freaking out yesterday, Joe. Ryan Stonehouse let go by the Tennessee Titans, which came out, I guess, in the afternoon yesterday. And it's like, okay, what's going on here? They reach a deal with Johnny Hecker after that to come in and be the punter. So a punting switch for the Tennessee Titans. Stonehouse is out. Hecker is in. Your thoughts?
Well, the Stonehouse out thing stunned me. I've seen a lot of conversation. Yeah, there were some things that I guess got worse last year. I mean, there's always the question of will he ever develop that touch? And also with the injury, is he the same guy since the injury,
Right.
So, but I mean, to me, still, I know that his, not net, but his, gross punting was still pretty close last year to what it was pre-injury. But the Hecker thing is a reunion with Fassel, which is weird because I didn't think coaches on this staff were part of the personnel decision. It's just a weird coincidence, probably, right?
Yeah, I guess sometimes it just works out that way.
Huh. But yeah, I mean, look, obviously the Hecker follow-up makes it less of a head scratcher.
Right.
I still feel like Stonehouse, though, could end up being one of those guys in this league who, is just one of the top guys. He has to put it all together. Maybe he won't. I mean, at what point do you know? At what point do you know something like that? Like, how much can a punter improve?
Yeah.
Like basically the short game, as they advance in their career.
Well, it's that, and I think one thing we've talked about with him too, and I think the coaching staff has brought this up, is like that the hang time had needed to get better. Like he was pretty consistently just booting the ball and out kicking his coverage, and that did not help with the massive special teams problems and coverage that they had throughout this thing. So maybe they just looked at it and said, yeah, we just don't think he can do it. Like we don't think that he gives us the best chance to go down there and cover some punts. And I think maybe that's part of it. But he's got a huge leg, obviously.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it has been a problem at times. There's no doubt. And it's been costly in some games. And it's great when you can hit a laser 75 yards. But yeah, if you're hitting it on a line, then you're sometimes giving your opponent a chance to do things that you can't let them do as a punter.
Adam in Portland on the text line says, feels like we're close to locking up the number 1 pick for next year. Fun roster.
And a
good
throw up
stuff.
emoji
Yeah, it's good
also
stuff.
with it.
It's looking great out there, guys.
Yeah, this is an interesting, I'm very interested to hear what Kaharski says later. I mean, look, I don't necessarily automatically hate a team not being super active. I also can never blame any team's fans when they aren't for being at least a little bit concerned.
Yeah.
Because obviously there are a lot of good players flying around and signing contracts. So it's going to come down to what these guys are able to uncover, and it seems like maybe they've already sort of run into a wall at linebacker and safety and had to go down the list a little bit. That happens. Again, I think if you're the Titans, it's more likely that it happens when you're as bad as they were. But there is a long way to go.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Titans and NFL free agency marches on. What do you make of what the Titans have done to this point? What is still something you'd like to see them do? Plus a report yesterday that I saw related to the Titans that made me say, that'd be interesting. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans and NFL free agency. Joe, I saw a tweet out there from Ben Valin yesterday, who we've talked about and may have had, I think we've had on this program before, back in the hey, is Mike Vrabel going to go to the Patriots days before Mike Vrabel actually ended up going to the Patriots? He is a senior NFL writer at the Boston Globe. He put this out there last night around 5:12 p.m. Keep an eye on Carson Wentz and the Titans. That's what Ben Valin had to say. And I said, oh, okay. The Wentz wagon, maybe, and the Tennessee Titans. It has not happened yet, obviously. So, I guess we can keep our eye on it until it happens. But what do you make of that Ben Valin threw out there of keep your eye on Carson Wentz and the Tennessee Titans?
Yeah, I'm gonna file that under the Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson things that weren't real. Again, there's another thing. Looking forward to ask Kaharski about. Man, I mean Ben Valin, also he had some of the reporting on Vrabel when they had the contract in place with what's his name? VFL, Gerard Mayo. So Titans fans, I think you should hope he's wrong on this one. I mean, I don't see the point. Carson Wentz is not. Carson Wentz is, to me, not who I want as a backup, and he's not who I want as a starter for sure. So I don't really want him as any sort of quarterback on any. I don't want him in any spot on the depth chart.
I do not want him as a starter. I do not want him around.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine if you could carry 4 QBs. I'd be cool with Carson Wentz, but yeah, I don't. That's a weird one. There's also Mason Rudolph. There's some talk about Titans. Guy whose name eludes me, who has his own site in Pittsburgh, reported that the Steelers have reached out to Rudolph about possibly coming back. So a fight over Mason Rudolph possibly. And again, Mason Rudolph, I understand, he wasn't great when he had to start last year. I think Mason Rudolph as a backup is fine.
He's fine
if you have a starter.
Yeah, a legitimate starter, and if he's your backup, then I think that's fine. I don't know that if the Titans draft Cam Ward, bringing Mason Rudolph back, would I be okay with that? I mean, I guess. I mean, Jacoby Brissett, by the way, is now off the table.
I
got
missed
signed
that
yesterday by Arizona. So
okay.
He's a backup in Arizona.
He's going to end up playing for every team in the league.
I think he might. He's making the rounds. So you could take another backup quarterback target, which I would have enjoyed, off the list there. Wentz, the one thing I'll say about him, he was in Kansas City this past year, so obviously Borgonzi knows him. So did he make some sort of impression on Borgonzi where he feels like he could either be the backup quarterback or be the starter until Cam Ward's ready to start next year or whoever you draft? I don't know. Maybe I lean more with you. Like, I don't know that Carson Wentz is the type of backup quarterback that I want. I talked about Will Levis earlier in the offseason about, like, I need my backup quarterback to be able to come in and you're not scared to death that they're turning the football over all the time. I don't know that Carson Wentz necessarily accomplishes that.
Right. Just like Jameis Winston doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want the safe game manager type, I think.
I'd probably get over it for Jameis, though.
Right. I mean, there's at least with Jameis, there's fun to be had. With Carson Wentz, I don't think there's any fun at all in any way. Like, there's no fun. There's nothing good. Sure, he's a nice guy. But, yeah, that is – but it's it's a good point about Bergonzi, and sometimes that does influence things like this. Yeah, just that one doesn't excite me. Mac Jones,
he's still out there.
Any other? Yeah, is there any other team being mentioned? Like, is there anybody being mentioned with Mac Jones?
Not really. Not that I've seen.
I mean, he's better. I would, for example, we're talking about Wentz. I would quickly go to Mac Jones just because of his youth over a Wentz, and hoping that there's still some runway there, right?
You would think. Let's head to our 102.5 The Game phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Welcome in Roy to the program. Roy, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Oh, what's up, guys? So, honestly, last 2 days or whatever, the Titans hadn't been super aggressive, throwing the money at, the better named players and position players. I mean, obviously left tackle is probably one that doesn't come available very often to be a stud player to throw that money at. But the way I see it, they've got so many holes to fill, and we're all speculating, well, they didn't do a lot, and we need a quarterback, so we're obviously going to go ahead and get Ward. I don't see that. I think, I don't know. I'm speculating that Rodgers is probably going to end up in Pittsburgh. Mason Rudolph will probably be his backup. We're going to sit there with just Will Levis sitting there on the roster, just by himself. I feel like those guys, the Giants are going to be out there, desperate for the quarterback, and they're going to probably want to jump up to get that one. So I really feel like this is going to be one of those things where Titans probably end up trading that pick because they need so many other holes to fill. And hopefully they get a king's ransom this year, not later, for draft picks. And who knows who we're going to be throwing the ball to. I'll hang up and listen to see what you guys think. Tighten up.
Thanks, Roy. Appreciate it. Well, I think we're going to find out, like, how desperate are the Giants? That's one question I'm going to have is, let's say it plays out the way that we think it's going to, and Rodgers ends up in Pittsburgh. Okay, we'll take Rodgers off the board for the Giants. So do they pivot to Russell Wilson at that point? Because honestly, like, if it's not Russell Wilson, are they going to make like Mac Jones their starting quarterback? Like, that feels like you're just basically going back into the Daniel Jones experiment at that point. Like, so does that create desperation there? Do the Giants like love Cam Ward? Like, do the Giants want to move up and get Cam Ward? I think there's been a lot of assuming that they do, but do they actually want to move up and go get him? I don't know. That would be good for the Titans either way. Like, even if the Titans are totally interested in Cam Ward, if the Titans are interested in Cam Ward and they want to take him, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. But if they're not, it would be great for the Giants to be in a spot where they are desperate.
Yeah, look, first of all, with Roy, like, I haven't changed at all on, like, Cam Ward. Like, if the Titans are doing this because it's like, well, got to have a QB and he's the best QB, and so let's do it, then I think that they're screwed. And if they take Cam Ward because they've gone through this process and they have conviction that he's that guy, then okay, then there you go. You're tying your tenure here to that, and that's fine. I'm still, just from what I know, I'm still totally on board of, you got to get out of there, and you try to get Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, and it sucks for next year, And the question of then who the heck is playing quarterback is a great question. But I would prefer that path, because I tell you what, you look at, everybody's complaining about the roster now, Adam and Portland, they're going to improve it. But bring Cam Ward in. I mean, the way things are shaping up, and, we're going to talk about the left tackle debate and all that stuff. I mean, it's a rough roster, man. Yeah. Right now it's looking like and so this is not setting up a rookie quarterback for success right now, in my opinion.
Look, again, free agency is not finished. We haven't even gotten to the draft. But right now, they got Calvin Ridley and basically no other wide receivers. They have Arden Key and basically no other edge rushers. I mean, it's a heck of a spot. They have no right guard at the moment. It's a heck of a spot that they're in right now.
And again, you have this opportunity with the pick you have to really address it, right, and get a great player, get what you think will be a great player prospect, and get more picks and improve your roster, or you use that on a quarterback. And again, look, if he's that guy, okay, but if it's an inkling of, well, there's just no great options, and I mean, he is the top quarterback, so like that to me is that you're gonna stay bad. You're just gonna stay bad.
Mo on the text line says, "Can you guys talk about the safety they got for $10 million and they couldn't pay $6 million to NWI?"
Yeah, Mo. Get a Mo.
I will say, when I saw the price tag that NWI got, I was like, really? Like, you couldn't give him a little bit more than that if you're the Titans?
Yeah.
Now, look, and again, I think we always lose sight of this in these discussions. I understand that Nick Westbrook-Akine has said all the right things, and he's talked about how much he likes it here, and his roots are here and all those things. When it comes down to it, I think sometimes it's hard not to look around and say, good gracious, we've done a lot of losing here, and I don't know if it's going to get a lot better. Maybe the grass is greener somewhere else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe he did.
And as much as he made plays for the Titans last year, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Brian Callahan, or if Brian Callahan has a say, may have a different vision for that receiver room. It's just there are so many spots to fill right now.
Yeah,
and that guy fills a spot. You want it to be lower than it has been, but still, he fills a spot and can jump up when needed.
I think a lot of Titans fans are disappointed that they've not been more active than they've been. I understand the disappointment as you pointed out earlier. I also like going back heading into this whole thing. Like we talked about how the general consensus on this free agent class is it's not very good. So are you more willing, I guess, to be a little bit more patient with the fact that they've not been super active, with that in the backdrop of knowing that the general thought process from pretty much everybody you talk to in the football world was that this free agent class isn't all that great?
Yeah, I guess the question is, okay, so then are the nether regions of the free agent class okay?
Well, yeah. I mean,
because that they are going to sign people. They have to. I mean, the disappointment would be if they are really truly inactive, and I don't think they will be. Mike Borgonzi basically publicly guaranteed they won't be.
Right.
He said they're going to try. So, okay, we just lose our power.
I don't know what's
What
going
is
on
happening
here.
here. We lost some of our power. So I don't know. I feel like it's fine. I think it's fine. Especially did you address left tackle well?
Right.
If you did, then you've already done a big thing. But of course, you would be more excited about, them getting one of the edges right now, or even one of the top guards that are off the board, and they haven't done it. And also, like I said, I mean, they have, I think, pretty clearly lost out on some of the defensive players they've pursued. This happens. But for Mo, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Mo, but they had to get a safety. I mean, they had to.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I thought they were getting ready to spend a big time money at safety, right? Like Javon Holland, I thought they were getting ready to really go after him and spend a lot of money. The contract that they gave Woods, not really all that much money. Like, I mean, you're talking 2 years, $10 million.
Right.
I mean, it's not a huge investment level there. We'll have more on the Titans and NFL free agency coming up next. We'll get back into the Latham and left tackle debate as our power continues to just go nuts in here. This is Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Tune in to 102.5, 106.3 The Game for Vanderbilt men's basketball as the number 12 seeded Commodores take on 13 seed Texas in the SEC men's basketball tournament. Tip off at 2:30, pregame beginning at 2 o'clock. Coverage also available on the 102.5 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com. Robby and Rexrode here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon. Big bank muscle, small bank hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get it all. Taking your thoughts on the Titans and NFL free agency. Ty on the text line says, don't sign people to win the offseason. We did that last year. Sign what you think truly makes you better and draft. The fewer holes we fill, the more I see us trading the pick. It's setting up for Levis part 2. We've had a couple of those thoughts today. I will be stunned if Will Levis is the starting quarterback for the Titans next year. I know that there's this growing sentiment among Titans fans that that's what it's going to be. Like, I don't see a scenario where Will Levis is a starting quarterback next year. I mean, I guess if like Mac Jones and every quarterback on the market tells you no, then yes.
And you're not, and you haven't already talked yourself into Cam Ward.
And you haven't already
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I just this idea that they're just going to be like, yeah, just trot Levis back out there. Like, with the way that they've talked about this and some of the comments that Brian Callahan has made, like, they're done with Will Levis. Like, whether he's on the roster or not, he's not going to be the starting quarterback next year.
No, I agree. I don't think so either. Yeah, that's the threading the needle of they just whiff on Mac Jones, whoever that they were, Carson Wentz. My God. I keep saying that, and it still hurts my brain. But whatever. They whiff on their possibilities, and they don't want one of these rookies. And they're able to, whatever, the trade out, or even they can't trade out, and they take a non-quarterback, and then it's basically down to, well, okay. But I agree. It's really hard to buy that's in their mindset of Levis. Now, Ty, I hear what Ty's saying. Don't sign people to win the offseason. We did that last season. First of all, a couple things. Let's remember that Chad Brinker was here last season, okay? I know everybody wants to believe that Rand was actually in charge. This collaboration, it was actually Rand. He was the bad guy. He made all the bad choices. The Titans offseason last year, yes, it was exciting, and yes, it didn't work out. And so now, in retrospect, people want to go back and say, they were just throwing crap at the wall. They were signing players that filled needs, were they not? I mean, things didn't work out. Chidobe Awuzie didn't work out. The guy, and he had some injuries, so that was worth, second guessing at the time. But still, that made sense. The Snead trade didn't work out. I mean, they still need it to work out this year. But, like, you're telling me that wasn't a need? I mean, they signed people last year and drafted people that made sense on paper. When things don't work out, then we want to retroactively go back and say, they were just, they were just making stuff up. I mean, I think there was logic to what they were doing. It just didn't work out. So I hear what you're saying. Like, your fan bases, again, they get upset when teams don't get going right away in free agency. And it's not always the smart thing to do. Sometimes the smart thing to do is to stay away from the big ticket items and then go smaller. Again, the Commanders serve as a pretty good example last year. But, I mean, this kind of Monday morning quarterbacking of last year's offseason, like, when things don't work out, it doesn't always mean that they were poorly conceived in the beginning.
I got one texter asking, so are the Titans just not going to have a pass rush this year? I'm looking at free agents that are still out there and available. So Joey Bosa is now off the board. He signed with Buffalo yesterday. So the idea of him going to San Francisco and teaming up with his brother, that did not happen. Buffalo is where he's ended up. So looking at some players at edge rusher that are still out there and available. Von Miller, who's not coming to the Titans. We talked about him the other day. I mean, to me, if he's still playing, he's going to be playing for a team that can compete. Zadarius Smith is out there. Preston Smith is out there. You've got DeMarcus Walker. And then a bunch of dudes. It's just a bunch of dudes out there. Dante Fowler Jr., Darrell Taylor, former Vol, out there. Like, there's not a ton of great options on the edge rusher free agent part of this.
I mean, you have to get some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to. To me, a couple of those names you said, Sure. Again, it's not exciting, but you have to fill out your roster, and hope that you can get some better play. I mean, some of those guys have had good moments. God, Ojulari was the first round pick not long ago. What was that, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Right? But obviously it hasn't worked out for him, so yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to fill it out because some of these young, guys that they've taken shots on really haven't materialized. And then to me, like, because of the class, that's the one spot I could guarantee that and receiver, like, they have to draft both things, right?
Yes.
Like, this is where, again, good teams, you draft best available. That's that. But like, sometimes you have to address need. I mean, those needs are just too severe, I think, to not address in the draft.
Well, the one thing, as far as the pass rusher part of this, it's a pretty deep class at edge rusher. Like, even if it's not Abdul Carter at number 1, let's say they take Cam Ward and they're not picking again until 35 after that. Like, you're probably going to be able to find a pretty good player at 35 for an edge rusher, just based on the class and the way.
Apparently,
the way
James Pierce will be sitting there.
You might be able to find James Pierce
see.
in the 4th round,
Yeah.
depending on where things are going right now. So, I think you're going to be able to find somebody in the draft to come in and immediately play for you. Now, how impactful is a rookie going to be, particularly if it's not, a high pick? Like, if you're talking a 2nd rounder, whether it's Jack Sawyer or a Kyle Kennard from South Carolina, like, can they come in and be impactful immediately? Like, you have Arden Key, who's not, like, I don't want Arden Key starting. He may have to this year, which is still not great for the Titans. But can you get somebody, let's say you're going Cam Ward at 1. Can you get somebody in the 2nd round that could come in and be immediately impactful trying to get after the quarterback? They really need to identify that.
Yeah, I think you can. I think there are going to be edge players who go through the first 2 rounds. Some of them are going to be absolute instant impact. You got to make the right choice, but yes, that will be available, I believe. So
James Pierce is undrafted free agent.
Yeah. All right. I guess, James, you can do a tryout. You can do that tryout weekend. And
Wow, he's really falling down the board here.
Well, this guy's pretty good.
He doesn't want to be coached by anyone.
My gosh, I'm kidding, man. John from McMinnville says, Joe, we didn't need to trade for a cornerback that everyone knew had bad needs. No, I'm not saying you needed to make that trade, but look, there was a lot of excitement when that trade was made. Again, I was like, wow, that's a big signing. I know how it worked out. I mean, we can look at it right now and say, yeah, that was a disaster, and you gave up a pick for it. So I understand, and Borgonzi's over there like, yes, Rand, let's talk. But that you needed, I was just saying you needed corners,
yes.
You needed good players. You need great players. He was a great player the year before with the Kansas City Chiefs. Like it or not, he was a great player with the Kansas City Chiefs the year before. So, again, we'll see. I mean, we know what last year was. You sure as heck hope that it's not just over for him. It might be.
Joey from Bellevue wondering if we agreed to wear blue polo shirts this morning or if it's just a coincidence.
It is a coincidence.
It is.
Different shades, at least.
Different shades.
Maybe Kaharski will make it a trio. Let's hope.
Maybe so. We'll see.
Some of his little PaulKarski.com sweatshirts are blue, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
All right.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More coming up next on the Titans and NFL free agency. A couple more thoughts to get into on the J.C. Latham front. We'll do that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-106.3 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Herb in Kentucky says, if the Titans are not interested in keeping NWI, I am no longer interested in being a Titans fan.
Wow.
This is from Herb in Kentucky on the
And
text
we
line.
thought we loved NWI.
You know, the A.J. Brown thing, the trade, that's one thing. Being a horrendous football team the last 2 years, I can live with that. But NWI not coming back, that's the final straw.
That's the deal breaker.
I respect it, Herb.
I do too, Herb. I mean, a lot of people are upset about it, you know.
I get it.
And, you know, like Weston Clarksville asked, you know, why not? Why in the hell could they not pay a little bit of money and keep him? Or was it NWI didn't want to be here? And, yeah, you said it, you know, earlier, Robby. Maybe you lose enough at a place. And, you know, again, this coaching staff changed. He did have some success last year with this coaching staff and in this offense.
Yeah.
And with Will Levis throwing in the football and Mason Rudolph sometimes. But,
Well, and to be clear, I don't know what the Titans offered him. I don't know if the Titans offered him anything. I don't know exactly how this went down.
that would be disappointing
With
if
NWI.
they didn't have any inkling to keep him. That would be
I would
disappointing.
agree.
That's dumb.
But like I think we always view this through the lens of, well, if you just offered him so and so, they'd be here. 'Cause,
Right.
like people say that about Derrick Henry all the time too, and it's
Exactly.
like, well, maybe like Derrick Henry may have looked at it and said, you know what, I love my time here. I don't really want to play here anymore. Like I want to go somewhere where I can win. And I think we too often discount the possibility where guys can look around and say, yeah, I think I'd like to go try something else right now and see if there's a little bit more winning that takes place.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you're a bad franchise, which right now the Titans are.
Exactly. Yeah, and like for Derek, obviously it was also, boy, losing and just running into 8 guys before I even get to the line of scrimmage. Maybe I'd like to change that up a little bit.
And also, to be clear, I'm not comparing Derrick Henry and NWI.
Aha!
Let's
Both
just
future,
make sure that that's known as well.
future Titans Ring of Honor members,
Could be.
both of them. But no, I don't know, because it's not like the Dolphins. Yeah, I mean, honestly, if you told me that somebody out there gave him like 8 to 10 for 2 years, it sounds ridiculous, but like that's what happens sometimes in free agency. I would have believed it. And this money is not it shouldn't be prohibitive, but yeah, maybe it was more on his side. Like, yeah, I'm gonna go just check it out, see what's out there.
And again, I don't know, but I think too often we just don't think about that as being a possibility. We had a lot of discussion yesterday about Dan Moore Jr. coming in to play left tackle and J.C. Latham moving over to the right side. Trevor Maddich was on with Stillman and Company yesterday and offered some of his thoughts on the acquisition of Dan Moore Jr. Here's what Trevor Maddich had to say. I think we're waiting on the Trevor Maddich clip.
Yeah, actually, yeah, we can. I actually told him 7 o'clock hours, so it was kind of my fault.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah,
That's fine. I mean, he just said he had it ready, but that's fine.
yeah.
We'll keep going.
Yeah,
We'll get back to
We'll
we'll
get
get
into
that we'll
Dan
get
Moore.
Maddich thoughts. So the Trevor the Dan Moore part of this. A lot of discussion even after the show yesterday of Latham moving to the right side. What does that mean for how the Titans evaluate him? So you're taking a look at, he was drafted less than a calendar year ago to be the left tackle. Now I went back and I read some of Brian Callahan's comments, some of Rand Carthon's comments, some of Bill Callahan's comments in the immediate aftermath of the draft. And it was basically all about how they feel very confident that Latham is able, with the skill set that he brings, to move from the right to the left. And it's like, okay. Did they ever come out and say, like, we expect him to be a franchise foundational left tackle? I don't think so. Like, I can't find those specific quotes, but it's clear that they wanted him to be the left tackle. I said it yesterday. I stand by it now. I don't love this. Like, it does not speak well to me that a year into this, you've already pivoted off of that. Like, you're drafting him 7 overall, and you're talking in the immediate aftermath about how he's got the requisite skill set to go do it. And now you're bringing in Dan Moore Jr., who has been a left tackle. You're paying him a lot of money to do the job and moving Latham back to the right. Again, if Latham ends up being a stud right tackle, is it a big deal that they've done this? No, but I also think like they're like, well, they just went and got a free agent left tackle. Of course, you'd move him over to the right side. It's like, well, it'd be one thing if you were like bringing in Trent Williams in his prime to come play left tackle. I don't think that anybody's confusing Dan Moore Jr. for that. So it's a really fascinating discussion on the JC Latham part of this right now. To me, what does this mean? How do you view this if you're the Titans? Is this and the question I threw out there yesterday, is this a misevaluation of his ability to play the left side? Or is this them looking at him and saying, maybe he's not as good as we thought?
Yeah, I think it has to be, again, even though I think we can all agree that J.C. Latham at right tackle is immediately an improvement over what NPF did last year, and that's huge, right? But it's still, I mean, both things can be true. You can have an overall collective improvement, which I think this is. I just don't know how much it is.
Right.
It needs to be significant. I think it will be on the right side. My question is it significant on the left side? Which we all agree that's more important, right? If you have a right-handed quarterback. So I don't know. But the point that you make, I mean, still, it has to at least be somewhat a miss on J.C. Latham. If you believed that he is that guy and that's his future, then, either you sign Dan Moore and you move him to the right side, or you sign somebody else. You sign a right tackle.
Right.
And I know that there weren't a ton out there. Vrabel, I think they did well at right tackle, and that's who we talked about a lot for the Titans. But it has to be some level of miss on Latham, some level of disappointment in what unfolded with Latham last year.
And again, that doesn't mean he can't be a good right tackle.
Right.
But I think if you're being honest with yourself, if you're a Titans fan, and we would have told you after draft day last year that, hey, a year from now, he's not going to be a left tackle. He's going to be back on the right side. I don't think Titans fans would love that. So again, if he's a great right tackle, then I'll live with it. It's fine. Like, you can, hopefully Dan Moore Jr. works out on the left side and Latham turns into an all-pro level right tackle. But I can't, I think the way that I feel about this, like I feel like the reaction from Titans fan to him just moving back to the right side is a little too nonchalant on this thing. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm overreacting. But to me, it at least says that there's been a misidentification on what he can do. Like, they clearly thought he could play the left side at a very high level, or they wouldn't have drafted him and done that. And less than a year in, they're like, well, we don't love that anymore. Let's move him to the right. Let's go sign Dan Moore Jr. to be left tackle.
Right. And again, it's like, this is a one area of your team that's been so bad that you now have someone who in every aspect of offensive line play, evaluating guys coming out, evaluating free agents, developing players, putting the puzzle together with 5 people is supposed to be elite.
Yeah.
Bill Callahan last camp and like after the draft and, OTA, whatever it was, he was adamant. Like, he was very confident in Latham and the left side. And so the idea that he would move to the right side, it's not the biggest deal in the world if he's going to be great there. When you consider who has moved him over there, there's my skepticism. So we'll see. Hopefully he proves me wrong.
Noah says, what if this is just the best immediate option to upgrade the line? What was out there in free agency at right tackle? Maybe it's the clearest path forward to maximizing available options without relying on a high draft pick. I get that thought process. My point on this whole thing, like, Dan Moore's not going to be here for a year. He's going to be here for at least 2 and maybe 3. So, like, they're done with Latham at left tackle. Like, I don't know how you can read this any other way. Like, they are done with J.C. Latham at left tackle. This action tells you that. So, again, is it the clearest path forward right now to fixing the line, him playing the right side? Maybe so. But the underlying reasoning and point of all this is, if they felt like he was a franchise left tackle and that he was going to be a pillar as a franchise left tackle, you don't move that guy. It's the most important position on the line. You keep that guy and you figure it out somewhere else. They clearly don't feel that way.
Yeah, like I understand. Like, well, the guy who was available, it has to be a left tackle. So you do that. I get it, but yeah, I mean, I think if you can solidify that left side again with Latham and Skronsky together, you keep it and you just keep going forward with it, and then you and you do what you can do on the right side. I mean, again, you can't help but be better than Petit Frere on the right side next year. Like, really. A lot of different people I think you could assign you'd be better at right
You
tackle.
would.
Yeah, Latham maybe a lot better, and that's great, but I question, okay, so what is the future at left tackle? Hugely important position, and as we'll get to, the range of opinion is pretty interesting on him.
There's a lot of opinions. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. More coming up next on Titans and NFL free agency. Plus, Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us later in the program. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game, brought to you by First Horizon, Big Bank Muscle, Small Bank Hustle. Visit firsthorizon.com/get-it-all. Robby Stanley, Joe Rexrode, Nick Keyser here with you. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com will be with us later in the program. A lot of things to get into with PK. Looking forward to that. Taking your thoughts in the meantime, 615-737-1025. Discussing J.C. Latham, Dan Moore Jr., and the switch for Latham from the left side to the right side. Taking your thoughts on that. A lot of different thoughts on that. Keep them coming on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We brought up Trevor Maddich, so he was on with Stillman and Company yesterday and offered his thoughts on Dan Moore Jr. and the acquisition that the Titans have made. Here's what Trevor Maddich had to say on Stillman and Company yesterday.
Pro Football Focus says Dan Moore, even though he plays more snaps than everybody else, Dan Moore allowed 12 sacks last year as the left tackle of the Steelers. I think it's a massive upgrade. What do you make of it?
I think it's an enormous upgrade in both positions, by the way, right tackle and left tackle, because now they'll move J.C. Latham, it looks like, to right tackle, which is his more natural position, both from a standpoint of playing that at Alabama and also from a standpoint of his body type. I mean, he is massive. He's got heavy hands. This is J.C. Latham now, and he's a prototypical right tackle, but he's got really good feet. I mean, much better feet than you'd expect for a guy that big. Right tackle, he's got, I think, the better opportunity to dominate. Left tackle, he did some good things last year as a rookie for Tennessee, but he also started to have some of his weaknesses at that position exposed at left tackle. Part of the problem was that when his hands got slapped down, we're talking about Latham now, when his hands got slapped down by pass rushers, he would momentarily stop his feet while the pass rusher kept his feet going and got around the corner because of it. That happens to a lot of tackles, but it's something that late in the season, opponents scouting Latham saw that, and it happened over and over and over again, and his performance went downhill. At right tackle, I think he's better at that, and he's more natural with his footwork because he's a natural right tackle. So now you've got Moore to step in and play left tackle. He's kind of the opposite of J.C. Latham, whereas Latham is a mauler. Moore is more of a mover.
So that was Trevor Maddich yesterday on with Stillman and Company. Seems to be more excited about Dan Moore Jr. than some others are. What do you make of Maddich's thoughts there and the range of opinions on Dan Moore Jr. to the Titans?
Well, I would say, and Maddich, I love Trevor Maddich. I think that's one of my favorite regular guests that we have on this station, and his overall assessment was pretty positive on Dan Moore Jr. And obviously Trevor Maddich talking about someone who watches a lot of football, pro and college, also played at the highest level. So there's a lot of value in that opinion. My question, because I'm going to get to the very counter opinion, I get my question, I guess, would just be the volume of analysis. That I don't know. Trevor has a lot going on. So he watches guys, but so the comparison here, James Foster at No Flags Film, and I didn't realize he has moved on. He used to work at A to Z. He has moved on to the 33rd team as an NFL analyst. He watched every snap of Dan Moore last season, and this is.
I believe he's also at paulkuharsky.com as well.
He is. I apologize, PK. I apologize. So there you go. And he does really good work. Again, this is not someone who played in the NFL. So, I mean, I definitely am going to defer to someone who did. I just don't know if, like, Maddich went through every snap like James Foster did. James Foster went through and pass blocking, speed, let's see, hand usage, inside counters, anchor. We're talking, run blocking. We're talking a very detailed. And I'll just give you the conclusion, first sentence. Quote, Dan Moore will likely be one of the worst starting tackles in the NFL. Pause. The rest of the sentence. But there is a significant gap between the worst tackle and the 50th best tackle. End quote. And he said, this is definitely an upgrade over Petit Frere. We all agree with that.
Look, that should be a given.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then I'll read more from Foster. Quote, while I don't think Moore is a particularly good player, I have no problem with the signing. And he mentions that unless you're going to take Membu at the top of the draft, who appears to be the consensus, the guy that everybody loves, this is the reality. And the reality is when you miss on all these guys, you're in this spot. But there's still, you read through this whole report, it's very detailed. And again, we're talking like very, very granular stuff on his hands and his feet. And, this is offensive line. This, James studies NFL. You can be a good analyst of all these things and not have played the position. This is very possible. I think Mina Kimes is a great analyst of football on television. And, some people have a problem because she's a woman. I mean, she studies the game. You can do that. Anybody can study the game and be able to talk about these things. Of course, you like people who played it, who also do that. But there's some people who play, and like Shaquille O'Neal is sitting here the other day and congratulating Chauncey Billups on his coaching job with the Detroit Pistons. Again, I'm not comparing. I'm just saying, let's also, you need to do the work, okay? And actually follow the league you're talking about. And Manich does. He's great. But I do put value in James Foster's analysis here. And it just my skepticism hasn't really waned overall. And we're going to see. I mean, this offseason is huge for him. There is also the question. He just got paid. So what does that mean? People always bring that up, right? Sometimes you get paid, and then all of a sudden you're not as desperate to be great.
I didn't know Shaq was going to catch some strays from Rexrode.
I mean, what the hell, Shaq? He's serious. He only watches the Nuggets and Thunder and Lakers.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, God.
So back to our 102.5 The Game phone line. Welcome in Jared in Spring Hill. Jared, good morning. Thanks for calling in.
Good morning. I think we can agree that the line is better today than it was a couple days ago. But to me, how this reads is that J.C. Latham isn't as good as a fourth-round pick. Now, that could be because of the experience that the Pittsburgh, the system that he had. And I really do think the Pittsburgh is probably top 3 organizations at developing people outside of receivers, because it seems like they go AWOL there. But I think it's just, look, if I was GM, I'm overpaying at these lineman spots. I think it just solidifies even more that whenever you're in those preemie spots up at the top 10 pick, especially, you got to get that plug-and-play guy, which I think we're learning that J.C. Latham is not a plug-and-play guy. I think he did plug-and-play out of necessity, but I don't think that he was at his best position, which, makes me even more upset that we passed out on Brock Bowers. Could have had Brock Bowers and potentially got him later on. I don't know. But I think it's just a testament that hopefully this regime is getting away from drafting so many freaking linemen high up, and let's get after some skilled guys and get some people that, people would actually buy jerseys for. Fellas, I appreciate it. I hope you have a great day. The weather's beautiful outside. Get outside, people.
Thank you, Jared. Appreciate it. Jared, very upset that they did not get Brock Bowers.
Yes.
He's been beating that drum for a year.
That'll never end, I think. But look, the whole people wear their jerseys. I mean, I don't know. I saw some 77s out there.
Of course you did. He's faced the franchise for a little while.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot. Yeah, that's a very good point. I mean, I get it, but also if you can't block in this league, you do whatever you want at the skill spots.
Well, and by the way, I disagree that J.C. Latham isn't plug and play. Now, was he plug and play at the right position? That's going to be what we find out, right? We've got some text to this effect, and it's worth bringing up. There were a lot of people, I think Trevor Maddich included, that were draft analysts looking at J.C. Latham as a right tackle heading into last year's draft, and did not have great confidence that he could play on the left side. Now, does this mean that they're absolutely right? I don't know. But again, I got a tough time believing that if the Titans felt like J.C. Latham, after watching him do it for a year, was going to turn into this elite level franchise left tackle, which is what their goal was when they had him play there. I got a tough time believing they'd move it for Dan Moore Jr.
Right. And honestly, I didn't think last year, and I thought Trevor's the clip we played there on sort of what teams were picking up on and had sort of figured out about him was very interesting. But I didn't leave last year saying he has no chance. No. I mean, rookies struggle. Dan Moore has been in the league for 4 years and has some of the worst numbers for offensive tackles in the NFL in those years. Last year, better. How much better? Can he be better this year? What does that translate to on this line? I don't know. But 4 years of struggling largely is different than 1.
615-737-1025, our phone number. More coming up on the Titans NFL free agency. We got a lot of your thoughts to get to on our text line. We'll do that. Paul Kuharski will be with us later in the program. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. Tune in to 1025, 1063, The Game for updates of the SEC men's basketball tournament today through Friday, presented by Toyota, Guinness, thenewcumberland.com, Volunteer Hose and Gasket, and Sloan's Motorcycle and ATV. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines. We're live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Taking your thoughts on the Titans and NFL free agency. Dustin from Hopkinsville says, we're all upset that Brock Bowers isn't in two-tone blue. He could have helped out the young quarterback, get the ball out fast, another good blocker. He was the definite pick, not a safe pick, a game-changing pick. This from Dustin from Hopkinsville. A lot of people very
in free agency in 2035.
Back
he
part
can-
of his career.
Yeah. Can be kind of like some of those great receivers who have passed through Nashville.
I mean, we've got another example of a Titan who was a pretty good player here, ended up on the Baltimore Ravens after yesterday, too.
yes.
DeAndre Hopkins in Baltimore on a 1-year deal. D-Hop to the Ravens.
D-Hop and
It's like a factory here. We just produce talent for the Ravens.
yeah, exactly. D-Hop and Derrick Henry reunited. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I was really surprised actually by how ineffective and barely used Hopkins kind of got to with the Chiefs as the season went on. I thought it'd be the other way around. I thought he and Mahomes would really develop something, but it didn't do much. So I don't know how much more is left in that tank.
I don't either. It's going to be interesting to see. I mean, I get why you signed with a team like the Ravens. Like, you're still trying to compete and win a championship if you're him, but did not have the production in Kansas City with Mahomes that I thought he would. So we'll see what that looks like for him in Baltimore.
So Brandon on the YouTube chat says we need to get Mekhi Becton at right guard. Then the O-line will be fixed. They do need to get a right guard. There's no doubt. He's one of the guys you could look at. I think some of the top guys are gone. I liked Freeze. He's gone, but that would go a long way. Again, the O-line is fixed. I'm going to withhold that comment until I watch Dan Moore Jr. play some left tackle for the Tennessee Titans. Forgive me for being cynical.
Yeah, I need a lot of visual evidence at this point with the Titans offensive line before I'm convinced that it's fixed.
And I'm not going to react. I'm not going to overreact to the 3 sacks allowed in the first game of the season that are guaranteed. Give them a few games.
Yes. And then, Becton is a name there to watch for sure. Mike Herndon threw out on X yesterday kind of his list of guys that they're looking for that he'd be interested in. Becton's one of them, obviously. Tevin Jenkins will be another one. Kevin Zeitler. Some of the guys already off the list. A lot of people wanted Will Freeze, and for the Titans to take a look at him, and he ends up in Minnesota. So a lot of money being spent by the Vikings to address both of their lines of scrimmage, defensive line and the offensive line. By the way, Colts losing a lot of guys. Colts losing a lot of guys on their offensive line. So between that, Laramie Tunsil being traded,
Kenyon Green being traded. The Texans are like, get out of here, offensive line.
It's a really interesting offseason so far in the AFC South of, what are the Texans doing? And the Colts have lost like everybody who plays on their team.
Remember,
they did get Daniel Jones, though, so congratulations to the Colts.
Yeah, very exciting. Remember, like not long ago, we talked about how the AFC South, this is going to be fun, guys. Levis, Richardson, Stroud, Lawrence. Oh, my gosh, this division is going to be a blast. And it sucks.
It's something.
It still sucks.
It is something. By the way, on the receiver front, we mentioned some holes that are just massive. You got Calvin Ridley, and that's basically it at wide receiver right now. Guys that are still out there, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Brandon Cooks, Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, and then Cooper Kupp is coming available, I think, today. I think today is actually the day that he becomes available.
Someone asked earlier on the show if the Titans should offer something up so that he doesn't hit the market. Offer something up to the Rams so he doesn't hit the market. I'm like something real minor.
Send you like a vending machine or something.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Cooper Kupp like get it back together, and I'd take a flyer on him. I would take a flyer on Cooper Kupp, but not trending well on the health front there.
Well, like I would imagine he has no desire to play here.
Well, there's that too.
Not that sometimes. I mean, you have to play where they tell you to play.
Yeah.
But
if it's the best contract you get, then there's that.
Right. But if I'm Cooper Kupp, I'm probably looking like I think you got to look and say, let's be realistic with the conversations here and be realistic about where you're at in your career. Come in and be a complimentary piece to a team that you feel like's on the doorstep of winning a championship. Like that's what I'd be looking at if I'm Cooper Kupp.
Right. To that point, Caleb says, "Have y'all discussed what the hell the plan is at wide receiver?" We have discussed that.
It's a tough plan,
and I don't know. I mean, look, I think a drafted wide receiver would be something I'd probably bet pretty significant money on.
Question is where?
Yeah, where, right.
When?
You know, if you're, again, depending on what happens, certainly if like you draft Cam Ward, well, then 35, to me, I understand best player available, but my goodness, an edge or a receiver seems pretty desperate at
Yeah.
that spot. And there will be, I think there'll be good ones in both positions, but that's still,
Then you don't have a
they're
third round
going
pick.
to they're going to sign receivers. They will sign receiver or add an S in parentheses, I believe, in this free agency period before it's over. But what are you really getting at this point? There's just not a lot out there that's very exciting.
No, like we had, was it Corey Curtis brought up Elijah Moore the other day? Your boy Rondale Moore. You go back and
Oh,
get him.
man. Boiler up, baby. Love that guy.
You won't find a bigger fan of Rondale Moore than Joe was coming out.
See, a guy like
college.
that, man, sometimes you can sort of rejuvenate the career that never really was that great in the
Well,
first
look, in
place.
all seriousness, like the Titans are probably going to have to sign one of those guys, like that are just like, hey, you know what? There hadn't been a whole lot there yet. Injuries have happened, but let's take a chance. Like to fill out the receiver room at this point, you're probably going to have to sign one or two of those guys.
Yes. Dexter says, if Dan Moore dominates Arden Key in practice, can we assume he's a Hall of Famer? That's the litmus test. How do you do against Arden in August?
You can let Arden pass rush all day. He's not getting around Dan Moore Jr.
That's
Not happening.
Kaharski's here staring at me with his beady little eyes. I can't wait to hear him make excuses for Dan. He's going to tell us he's amazing. I can see it in his face right now.
We'll see.
Look at him. He's such a Dan Moore fan.
We'll see. 615-737-1025, our phone number. Kuharski is here. We got a lot to get into with him on the Titans and NFL free agency front. We'll do that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063, The Game. If the Titans are not interested in keeping NWI, I am no longer interested in being a Titans fan.
Wow.
This is from Herbert, Kentucky on the text
We
line.
thought we loved NWI.
Levis taking a deep shot. Westbrook-Akine, touchdown! What a throw by Levis. Levis, Westbrook-Akine, touchdown!
He's a guy that they say just does his job. A simple in cut right here and playing zone coverage, catches it right in front of Jeremy Chin, right on that goal line, and is able to sneak in.
And we all know what happens when you throw the ball to Nick Westbrook-Akine. He makes you look smart. That's what he did. 2 catches, 117 yards, including the 98-yard touchdown for NWI yesterday.
And now you got Jonathan Grenard, one of the better pass rushers in the league, going to work on third down. Levis taking a shot. He's got Westbrook-Akine breaking free. And the Tennessee Titans right back in it. 98 yards.
As much as he made plays for the Titans last year, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Brian Callahan, or if Brian Callahan has a say, they have a different vision for that receiver room. It's just there are so many spots to fill right now.
Oh, what a tearful mashup here. Rexrode's worst nightmare has come to fruition. NWI is out. He's in Miami. And we bring in Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com to the program. PK, it's a tough day for Rexrode. We appreciate you coming in to support us today.
And pour out some bubbly.
Well, I think it should be a tough day for everybody because at what he got there, which amounts to a 1-year, $3.2 million contract, Titans have to be in it there, given the state of their stuff. And I think they were in it. He probably liked the sound of the 2 years and 6 better, but I don't think they were too far off. And if you're not too far off and you've really got no veteran alternatives, unless you're in on one of these injured old guys who's going to be way more expensive than that, go get him. But I think he's in a hell of a situation there with Hill and Waddle, the slow guy who can run underneath a lot of that stuff with Tua. And now they've upgraded backup quarterback conceivably. I mean, Zach Wilson's better than the garbage that they've had, the garbage that we saw last season.
Get excited. Boy, it is better.
It's better
than Snoop. Yes.
Good for him. And he did a hell of a job building a career here. And if he's a true 3 there or, slotted where he needs to be slotted, Grant DeBose is his competition, it looks like, or Taj Washington. Malik Washington are kind of slot guys.
These are number 3.
Yeah. He's in good shape. Titans wide receiving core right now is absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to draft 2, but I think it really highlights how badly they need their first or second round pick to be a wide receiver.
So what are they going to do at receiver? I mean, you've got, obviously we'll get into the draft part of it a little bit later. There's guys out there that are largely old, injured, and you don't really know what they've got left in the tank. So are they just going to be forced to maybe take a shot with a couple of those guys? How do you view what they're going to do?
Well,
wide receiver?
Let's look back at when Joe initially wrote that Westbrook-Akine could be a 2. And somebody whispered that in his ear.
You jackwagon. I did not
He
write that.
really did. I don't
really
know why
didn't.
he insists on saying he didn't. We'll go back and look at it.
I'll pull it up right now.
It was
I mean,
probably
you're
Arthur.
such a
It
liar.
was probably Arthur Smith that told him that.
I love how you always guess who the source was. I love it.
But when he
Braves.
told him that, if Joe was still reporting on something that anybody was interested in reading about, that source was still here, they might whisper to him the same thing about Bryce Oliver.
Okay.
I think. And so now Bryce Oliver
Get excited.
could become Joe's guy, and Bryce Oliver could conceivably, lead a competition for the third guy. I think there's got to be a veteran coming at some point, maybe after the draft when people cut some people. I mean, I think the guys that to be had were clearly like Josh Palmer,
right,
and Brown from Washington, and maybe Slayton. Those 3. You missed out on those 3 very quickly, and now you're looking at old, expensive with some kind of age-related issue, and I don't think they're going to be in on any of those guys.
Okay, you freaking jackwagon. Here, I have it up for you.
It's funny how he has a bookmark because he has to refer back to it so often.
No, it was very easy to find. It was a very popularly read story. I'll tell you that.
As opposed to anything you write now.
Uh-huh. So, yeah, here's the exact thing. So people took this as part of the reason they didn't sign Corey Davis was Nick Westbrook-Ikine, which is true, and that's directly what I was told. However, here is the line, okay? As I went through all the things, the Titans might no, hold on, nope. I
can't find it.
Here we go. Well, so many amazing words in this thing. The middle to back end of the receiver room might be okay. That's it. That's
you're not picking the right part of the story. Send me that link. I'll read it during the commercial, and I'll tell people what you actually said.
I'll read the whole damn thing right now in your face. Here, read it. Come on, smart guy. Here it is.
I want to keep people awake and engaged.
Yeah.
I'll read it, and I'll tell them what you actually said.
And by the way, also
hiding from this story
I'm not hiding from anything. Hey, a-hole, you said you owe the Titans fans. You owe Titans fans an apology. Why? Because it was right?
When did I say that?
Oh, my God. You attacked me one day at training camp. I'm like, I'm not apologizing for anything. You've never apologized to me for the fact that this was accurate. I'll take it right now.
Let me see it. Let me see it.
You struggle to Google? Okay, I'll send you the link since it's so hard for you to freaking Google something.
Look how defensive he gets.
Oh, my God.
Would he be this defensive if it wasn't wrong?
The face is red.
Called him a two.
If you want to be a liar, I'm going to get mad at you.
The face is red. So Dan Moore Jr. is in. J.C. Latham, according to your reporting, moving to the right
it's
side.
It's a rare situation where I like Trevor Manich's take on that.
There you go. So what do you make of the Dan Moore Jr. move and the decision to move Latham to the right side?
He's not great, obviously, and they overpaid, obviously. Washington was interested. Kansas City was interested. New England was interested. Maybe the Titans would have liked Jalen Moore better. I don't know. He went to Kansas City pretty quickly. If he was the guy, we would have talked about his inexperience because he played behind Trent Williams. He only started, I think, 10 games. Look, I people like him in the NFL. The sack numbers are obviously not good. He played his best year last year, so people say he's rising, and he's nearing his peak. Gritty and kind of a throwback guy. So you like the sound of that element. In terms of his production, look, I mean, we could talk sacks flat out, but we know like there's some sacks that we've looked at as we've looked at this 100 and something sacks over the last 3 years that the Titans have allowed that sometimes are misappropriated or whatever. And I'm not making excuses for Dan Moore, but Russell Wilson was difficult to protect last year. And some of those sacks, as I've investigated it, were on Russ and some were on interior pressure. So I don't think Dan Moore flat out gave up 12 sacks, but as with everything, and I heard you guys coming in and I agree, and I need to see it. And the need to prove it. Clearly, this is somebody that Bill Callahan thinks that he can work with. And what I wrote is, and Joe, you were making kind of a joke of it when I was driving in about, gelling time and I don't want any of that. Now, they've invested big money in Cushenberry. Whether he's back is a question. They've invested big money in this guy. They've invested 2 first-rounders. No matter who's at right guard, I want like good offensive line play on day one. Gel during the offseason, gel during training camp. Yes, you should be better week 4 than you are week 1. But I want to come out of week 1 and hear, well, the guys are still getting to know each other and Callahan's system is hard and all of that. This isn't some guy who's adjusting to things. This is a 4-year vet who's been a starter at a big-time team. Get in here, get things together, and week 1 look like a professional offensive line. Period.
So whose analysis would you lean toward between Foster and Matich? Very different.
Well, I scored Manich down for unfair reasons because he's the Bible to Jared Stillman, and anybody that's the Bible to Jared Stillman, I scored down.
Well, you can't blame him for. I mean, he's been on his show. You're gonna guilt by association this guy?
Yeah, to a degree.
Come on.
It's somewhere in the middle. It's somewhere in the middle.
Okay, but I want you. So you're exactly in the middle. You're that weak. You're not going to have a take. You're going to be exactly in the middle.
My take is, I think it's probably as well as they could have done, and other teams that are far better than they are were interested, and like with everything I've said, I need what they do to be proven to me on the grass. So my judgment will come after I see him play 4 games.
Okay. Well, we'll just stop talking until the season starts then. Okay, great. No more conversation.
I do want to bring up, my father has texted in and he says, Joe should write a self-help book called Cultivating a Short Fuse by Joe Rexrode. Really impressed with his development.
I thought I had a long fuse.
Yes.
Someone's calling us Lenny and Squiggy on the text.
I
appreciate that.
I see reasons to be hopeful. I'm not crushing them on the Latham thing. Like, you need 2 good tackles. Latham can play left tackle. He played some good left tackle last year. I think with an offseason and whatever, he could have been a good left tackle. I don't know how good, but a good enough left tackle. Now they have a situation where their best choice was Moore. And so you make the adjustment, and you get the best 5 on the field. It'll probably be better for Latham, but you drafted a right tackle 7 and you drafted a guard 11. Those guys need to be really good. And now you're out of the business of drafting offensive linemen high. And we know who should be the right tackle on this team in 2025. Isaiah Wilson in his 5th-year option. And if not Isaiah Wilson, Dylan Radins, a 2nd-round pick, should be being re-signed. And if not Dylan Radins, Nicholas Petit-Frere, a 3rd-round pick. So strikeout. This has to be it.
Dan Moore is a 4th-round pick, so there you go. It all makes sense.
Yeah, now that one caller called in and said, downgraded him as a 4th-round pick. Guys are allowed to come into the league. Yeah. I know Titans fans can't relate to this because it doesn't happen here. But guys are allowed to come into the league as 4th-round picks and turn into good starters.
Yeah, they're
not Des Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, they're allowed to come in the league and give up the most sacks and pressures in the league for any offensive tackle in their 4 years, which he did.
Agree.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will. 615.
We'll see. But who was your choice?
I liked the guy that Vrabel got, at
Morgan
right
Moses.
tackle.
They should have signed Morgan Moses last time he was a free agent.
Yeah, I mean a real right tackle. But we can get more into it.
Now he's I think Morgan Moses is starting to get a little long in the tooth.
Sure,
he is 34,
but he's still his numbers last year were
he's
really
a very good player.
Yeah,
he's a very good player.
Unlike Dan Morris.
Now my guard is Zeitler. I think you could have one old guy out there, and I think he's like a rock of an offensive line. I love Kevin Zeitler.
We'll have more with PK coming up next. The Rex Rant with Joe Rexrode. Got a lot to get into on the free agency front with the Tennessee Titans as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sometimes he wakes up on the wrong side of the bed. And sometimes he's just, well, Joe.
Awkward moment. Let's do it.
This is the Rex Rant, now on Robby and Rexrode.
Send me that link. I'll read it during the commercial, and I'll tell people what you actually said.
I'll read the whole damn thing right now in your face. Here, read it. Come on, smart guy. Here it is.
I want to keep people awake and engaged. Yeah. I'll read it, and I'll tell them what you actually said.
It is that time of the day. Time for the Rex Rant, which I think already happened. You can check it out every morning here on the program. PK is with us, if you couldn't tell. PK wants to go first.
No, hold on.
Yeah, I'm going first.
No. It's a one-word rant. It's a one-word rant.
Goodness.
Apologize.
I'm not apologizing.
Apologize.
I'm contextualizing. Listen,
you are.
Here's what the story says. The story says the Titans have, this is March 23rd, 2021. The story says the Titans have A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, Josh Reynolds, Adam Humphries, Khalif Raymond, and Cam Batson. Quote, but a source said the Titans were never into the top guys on the market, and here's why. Nick Westbrook-Akine. Now, what does that tell you? That tells you on this
list. Do you want to read it? Or
listen.
Be quiet.
You are
so out of your depth and full of crap.
I just read it. Now I've got to reset.
Full of crap.
Be quiet. This is back when you read things people gave a damn about. The team has A.J. Brown, Corey Davis. There's where the line ends. Then Josh Reynolds, Adam Humphries, Khalif Raymond, Cam Batson, a pile of crap like they usually have. But a source said the Titans were never into the top guys on the market, and here's why. Nick Westbrook-Akine. That says they're comfortable with him as probably the third guy here because they don't have to shop for anybody else. Well, who am I to think is next? Josh Reynolds? No. Adam Humphries? No.
Are you
serious? Khalif Raymond? No.
Are you serious?
Cam Batson? No.
Are you
so
serious?
who's the next best guy?
You are a
Nick
joke.
Westbrook-Akine. If
you
read this story and understand it, you're saying he's at least third. They're not into the top guys in the market, and here's why. NWI.
I'm still disappointed it wasn't two.
At the very least, you're saying he's third.
You know damn well that you're full. Now, Mr. You said he was a number 2 receiver. Now just says at the very least.
Yeah, we never exaggerate for fun.
Yeah.
Never exaggerate
okay.
for fun.
That's what.
At the very least, you said
doing.
he's third, and you said he's the reason why they didn't shop for better.
Hey, by
Did
the
you
way,
not say that? They're not shopping for better. The Titans said they were never into the top tier guys on the market, and here's why. Nick Westbrook-Akine. It couldn't be more clear.
Here's some words that are directly from the story. Quote, they hope recent signing Marcus Johnson can be a speedy factor if he caught 31 passes for 532 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's the second time Marcus Johnson's been brought up today.
And Brown. Yeah.
He's hiding
Hold on.
Marcus Johnson.
No. Here's the next graph. Combine those two with Reynolds, who signed a 1-year deal, and the middle to back end of the receiver room might be okay.
Did Jim Wyatt write this?
Full of crap.
Did Jim Wyatt write this?
I don't know.
It's got a Titans logo on it.
What? What are you talking about?
It's a PR piece.
But you know what?
It's a PR.
He ended up being
Marcus
wide
Johnson.
receiver 3.
No, now because he lost, it's a PR piece. Good God.
How did I lose?
You got destroyed.
They didn't chase good guys, and here's why. Nick Westbrook-Akine. I'm quoting it.
You know, one of my favorite parts of this.
But let's ignore what I just read.
It lists
Well, you need to write something else to get out from saying what you said?
I mean, that's what it is said. That's what was written 4 years ago in English. Thank you.
One of my favorite parts of this.
I'll take your apology.
You lost
however
that
you
so
like
badly.
I mean,
looking at the other wide receiver
you just
options.
changed and said, we could just have some fun and exaggerate. Get out of here.
Says maybe it should be more of a slot guy. Is Rondale Moore, Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore, I would take a flyer on. No?
You could get those guys now. 3 years after this article came out, you could get those guys.
You could.
Rondale Moore.
I like
Elijah
Rondale.
Moore.
I like Rondale Moore. Yeah.
But how sad is it that that's what we're talking about?
That's pretty sad.
I mean, we're saying here are some scrubs that we think could maybe upgrade a room of scrubs. It's really sad.
It is.
I appreciate this texter who says beard oil man will never apologize when he's wrong.
I apologize when I'm wrong.
Thank
I've
you.
written apology posts.
Well, I'll take one graph. I'll take one graph. It's fine.
615-737-1025, our phone number. We got a lot to get into with PK on the free agency front coming up next. We're going to get a little deeper into the Latham discussion as well. We'll do that to start off the 8 o'clock hour. A lot of your thoughts to get to. Keep them coming. 615-737-1025. Robby and Rexrode, 1025-1063, The Game. Paul Kuharski from paulkuharski.com with us for the next hour here on Robby and Rexrode. We got a lot to get into on the Titans front. So we've talked about the acquisition of Dan Moore Jr. coming in to play left tackle, J.C. Latham moving to the right side. Here's where I come down on the Latham part of this, and you can tell me what you agree with, disagree with. I understand that Latham at the moment is definitely a huge upgrade over Nicholas Petit-Frere at right tackle. That goes without saying. He may end up being a great right tackle. And if he is, like if Latham turns into, an all-pro level right tackle, then that's great. I'll take that. It does bother me a little bit that less than a calendar year after they drafted him and talked about his ability to be a left tackle and that they had all the confidence in the world that he could go play that position, play it at a high level, and be a franchise foundational left tackle for them for years to come, that we're pivoting off of this 1 year into it for a guy that, depending on who you ask, may not even be that much of an upgrade on the left side of things over there. It tells me that after watching him play for 1 year on the left side, that they don't think he can be a franchise foundational left tackle. What say you?
Well, I understand that argument completely. I think the other side of it is we're assessing what's out there. In our eyes, the best thing that was out there that we could get was Moore. Moore is, has played 4 years of left tackle and is very clearly a left tackle. We've now got two tackles. One of them's got to move, and it doesn't make any sense to move Moore based on his history. Numbers be damned from last year. And Latham, it's always been a possibility based on his college history. And so while we could put him back at left tackle at any time if we needed to and trust him over there, we feel blessed now that we've got this level of talent to move over to the right side. And hey, the guy drafted in front of him, who's the consensus best tackle in that draft, is playing right tackle.
Correct.
Now, I had a conversation with somebody who would say, well, Joe Alt's playing right tackle because they had a left tackle in the Chargers. Well, they feel that way now, trying to get the best five. And, they don't care about the look or the buzz. They're trying to get the best five. To them, with what they have now, this helps them get the best five on the field.
I think that's fine. But I guess another question I would have and take more out of the equation is, okay, so is Latham moving back to the right side? Is that going to be an accelerator for him? And all of a sudden we're going to be like, oh, okay, now I see why he was a top 10 pick in this league. I mean,
you would hope this really hurts his pride, right? I mean, he talked about, I am a left tackle,
right,
and I have no interest in moving back and stuff. So he's a proud guy, and I would think he said, damn, this sucks, and I'm going to go over there and dominate now. And I also think he's got this grace that, I'm not saying all we want is better than Nicholas Petit-Frere, but it's not going to be hard for a guy of J.C. Latham's talent and makeup and a body to be substantial. He can be not great. He can be not great, and he's going to be substantially better than Dennis Daly, Andre Dillard, and Nicholas Petit-Frere.
But will Moore be worse than Latham last year? That's the next question.
Yeah. That is the next question. And so that's where we go.
I guess my point is, I understand the argument of best five. I really do. So maybe it is just as simple as that. But like, if you really felt like Latham was your future at left tackle, why do you move that guy? Like, it's the most important position on the line. So if you feel like he is your long-term answer there, wouldn't you try to figure something else out at right tackle? I realize
I think they've been trying to figure things out.
It is, but
and the market dictated. I think it's market dictated.
All right. I just, to me, this says we thought he was going to be a franchise left tackle, and we realized pretty quickly that he's not. And again, if he turns into an all-pro right tackle, I don't care. That's fine. Will he do that?
I think it's more like we thought he was going to be a franchise left tackle, but there are circumstances that'll change that.
Okay. All right.
And again, I know Joe doesn't like this. I don't like it either. But I'm in a prove it thing. And so I think it's unwise in March to say pass or fail. Let's see him on the field. I think Bill Callahan really is clearly one of the big stories with this team. And this patience thing that he got last year, where he overestimated Petit Frere and Duncan and some guys that he inherited, that he clearly told them, yeah, I can make this work.
Yeah.
Well, that's out the door now. Moore and whoever else they bring in, I want instant impact, certainly from veterans. But also, if you're drafting, and I'm sorry they don't have a third, I hope they get a third. But if they're counting on a rookie to do something, I don't want to hear a lot of it takes time either. I want a ready-baked guy. Find a ready-baked guy in there. I don't think they're spending a high pick anymore. I think they're probably getting a veteran guard. If you get a veteran guard and a veteran left tackle, I want a ready-baked line. Let's go.
So big picture, there are some Titans fans who are not happy that they've done not much right now. I've also heard last year everybody was all excited and they won in March, and look at what happened. So they shouldn't do that. Where do you come down on, what they still may do and how that should be perceived by the fans?
Well, people get so impatient so fast. I mean, it hasn't even officially started. They're talking about a lot of one-year contracts. Well, the one-year contract guys don't generally go before free agency even starts. Now, it doesn't matter what order guys come off the board, but it is kind of funny. Like, they filled 2 defensive starter jobs with Barton and Woods, which is great. Fill all the starting jobs you can. But again, offense, which doesn't score any points, gets, one thing. We listed the wide receivers. I mean, the number 2 wide receiver right now is Traylon Burks, and we know that's not lasting.
Yeah.
So the number 2 wide receiver right now is Bryce Oliver. They missed the wide receiver market. They're going to overpay for the tackle. Maybe you should have overpaid for a wide receiver, because you got a lot of needs in that draft, and getting one, then then you have 2. If you have 2 and one of them twists an ankle, then you have 1. And, they're supposed to be a throw the ball offense. So, and they're not good at tight end either, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
we never talk about tight end, but they could use
one. So Spears is maybe literally the
slot
second
receiver?
best pass catcher on the team.
Move him to slot receiver. There you go.
It's not a great spot to be.
Yeah. So I think right now, if you're a Titans fan, the thing to be depressed about, worried about, because there's not a lot out there to go get, is, and all of this, we tend to put the quarterback aside. A, who's throwing the ball?
Yeah.
And B, who is he throwing it to? Those are pretty damn big questions.
Well, and we know who's punting the ball. Johnny Hecker coming in, Stonehouse out. Your thoughts on that?
I mean, the Stonehouse tender is a big number, 3.2 something, right? So they clearly, I don't know if they tried with him or just decided, but they don't want to pay him that. Hecker is getting something way closer to the minimum. So it's like a $2 million savings. He's old. You're going up 10 years, which is generally not the direction you want to go. Stonehouse clearly didn't make the adjustments that they asked him to make last year, but I also don't know if they asked him to make the right adjustments. Like, he didn't do well, but I don't know if they knew what to ask him to do. I really don't.
Well, they didn't know how to not get him crushed.
Yeah. I mean, last year's special teams failure, let's not minimize it. It was massive, and it was not just Colt Anderson. It was Brian Callahan. I don't think Brian Callahan was ready for the special teams part of the job. Rand Carthon gave them terrible back end of the roster filled with guys who did not know how to play special teams. And I think Ryan Stonehouse is scapegoated a little bit on that. But, you traded him for Hecker. Hecker's a very experienced guy who's going to be able to do absolutely what John Fassel wants. And, so you lose a guy that everybody likes, but I think everybody will probably like Hecker. And, I kind of defer to Fassel, who's the first special teams coach that this team's had in a long time, who I go into it having faith in.
We'll have more with PK coming up next. 615-737-1025. Our phone number, 615-737-1025. Lots to get into on the Titans and NFL free agency. Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 1025, 1063 The Game. Paul Kuharski with us here on the program from paulkuharskis.com.
Joe Rexrode surprisingly okay with Mason Rudolph returning.
Well, Rexrode
if
is a big
Mason Rudolph
guy.
returns, I'm done.
All right, let's do a Twitter poll.
I'm done.
You can do it. Okay, backup quarterback.
Okay.
Jameis Winston.
Wow.
Brissett's out. Mason Rudolph. I guess Mac Jones, but again, I'm saying backup. That means that they're drafting. We don't know, and we're going to get into that on this program. And who else? Who else have we talked about? Yeah, Carson Wentz. I have no problem with Mason Rudolph as QB2.
Oh, I absolutely do. Try something new. You've been there. You've done that. The number one job of backup quarterback, come in, don't turn the ball over. don't turn the ball over. And he turned the ball over at a rate equal to or worse than the starting quarterback who was pulled because he was turning the ball over. If they bring Mason Rudolph back, if they bring Mason Rudolph back, I am out. Tape this.
You
make
quit?
a thing. I lose all faith in their management skills and everything they do.
So you just had this, very level-headed. Some people saying you're carrying water for Brinker, but I don't think
Today?
so. I'm just saying what they're saying on the text line.
Okay.
Yeah, it said noted water carrier Kaharski, somebody on there.
Okay.
But a very
How
level-headed
wouldn't it be
take.
Borgonzi? I don't understand.
A very level-headed take on the tackle, all that stuff. But if it Mason Rudolph, oh my God, I'm out. They're idiots. Come on.
Mason Rudolph was terrible. And the number one thing a backup quarterback has to do, hey, Will Levis is turning the ball over like crazy. We're going to pull him. We need somebody to come in here and settle things down. And he comes in and throws picks and fumbles. He does the same thing that the starter's doing. If you can't come in as a backup quarterback and settle things down, throw safe passes and not fumble,
but you're talking about
you're
this
incompetent at your job.
But you're talking about this in a vacuum. So I just gave you other choices. So give me your
anybody but him.
Well, no, tell me. I want
somebody.
Tell
I'll
me
take
about
Mac
Jameis
Jones.
Winston. Okay.
The
I'll
problem
take
with
Mac Jones,
okay.
Jameis Winston. But I think one of those guys is going to be competing with Levis to be starter. I think that's a very real possibility.
Well, now we need to get into this.
Well, let's get into that. So, look, you came on our show last week. You talked about how the Titans were not going to be pursuing Sam Darnold. They did not. You were talked about how Aaron Rodgers is not happening, and it's not. It looks like he's going to be probably in Pittsburgh, maybe with the Giants. We'll see. Russell Wilson, you've said earlier this week, is not happening. So, Mac Jones is still out there. Zach Wilson is off to greener pastures, throwing the ball to NWI down in Miami. Do we still feel like the interest level in Mac Jones could be real? Could the Titans end up with him? How do you view where quarterback is going from here?
I think they're talking to all of those guys who are left, or virtually all of them, not Marcus. It's Taylor Lewan being foolish. But I think they're talking to all of those guys. The question is, are they talking to them about coming and competing with Levis to bridge, to stopgap? Or are they talking about him to come and conceivably back up Cam Ward? And then would they carry three quarterbacks in a Cam Ward situation? Or is that guy going to slug it out with Levis and somebody not going to be here? I don't know about a three quarterback. The third guy doesn't get any work. Inevitably, you have injuries and stuff, and you need that roster spot. So it doesn't make much sense to me, and I don't know how attractive it is to that guy to come here and know that you could lose those backup snaps or early snaps if Ward is going to be here to Levis. So I tend to think if you're bringing in one of those guys, it's the stopgap situation.
So right at this moment, because a week ago you didn't seem all that convinced that they were like interested in drafting Ward. At this moment, do you think they're going to draft Cam Ward number one or no?
At this moment, I don't. But I don't know enough about their thinking, and I don't think they've made that decision yet, probably.
You were painting a bleak picture. I mean, again, I'm not saying that they should, because if they don't, as we've talked about, like if,
they don't love
if you
him.
don't think he's the guy, then you don't do it. But
it's a bleak quarterbacking picture.
With a bleak roster.
Yeah, it's bleak.
I mean,
I'm sure Brian Callahan would be thrilled heading into the year. Look,
yeah,
I think a lot of Titans fans look at this and say, well, they're drafting Cam Ward. This is why they're being as inactive as they are on the quarterback market here. I don't know. Like, to me, my opinion of them drafting or not drafting Cam Ward has nothing to do with how they've handled the quarterback spot here. Like, either you love him and you want him to be your guy, or you don't.
Well, real quick though, but don't you think though, if they would have gone for one of these other high price items, that would tell you they're not?
Sure,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so, yeah.
But I'm just saying,
it makes it more likely to me.
I guess my point is, like, I think there are some Titans fans that say, well, they haven't been able to make anything else work, so now you just draft Cam Ward because he might be the best option.
Yeah, to me, it's got to be the plan.
I'm not so sure, Joe, though, that it signals that. I just think they're not going to force it with somebody that's bad. And maybe they don't think Ward's that good and they won't force it with him. That's separate. But with this pool of quarterbacks that we've seen go, they're not good. Like Darnold was the only one worth consideration. And I think they decided that his body of work over 7 years overruled his one great year. And that he wasn't.
By the way, they weren't alone in that. A lot of the league looks like they did too.
And so they decided that. But outside of him, everybody's old and has some problem and is not anything close to a long-term solution. And they decided we're just not going to get into that. We're going to be patient and disciplined and whatever. And if that means sucking at quarterback this year or that Cam's our guy, two very distinct alternatives, they're going that direction. But I think there's a chance they just suck at quarterback this year and dive into the pool next year, which I know you don't like because you don't know enough about those quarterbacks yet. But I think it's on the table.
Yeah, I just like if that's the case. I
mean, do you want like Russell Wilson? Russell Wilson's terrible.
No, I mean,
and weird. And you're trying to set a culture. Aaron Rodgers is super weird. Right. So you're trying to set a culture. You want to bring in one of those two guys?
I like Darnold.
Right.
I mean,
but beyond Darnold, all of these guys, what are they?
Right. They're basically they're stopgaps to try to help.
So you take a lower level stopgap as opposed to a higher level stopgap.
But if you're Callahan, and I mean, to me, I think Brinker, to some extent, aren't you a little worried about going 3-14 next year? I mean, Callahan, you
need to be.
You got to be miserable with this idea of not having a viable quarterback option.
I mean, the question all comes down to how well have they done at selling Amy Adams-Strunk on the patience and the discipline that they're preaching. And look,
a third straight year of trash in this league should not happen.
I think, Chad Brinker was very clear when he talked about patience and discipline and all of that. I don't think they're saying we're going to win 3, but if they win 6 and they've preached patience and discipline and everything, and they think she's bought it, and then she comes out and does the Amy Adams-Strunk thing, then I think it's more on her than on them.
And if you win 6, you're not at the top of the draft either, by the way.
Right.
So,
but if they think she's bought it, well, maybe they get another first rounder out of a trade. But if they've sold her on patience and discipline, and she said yes, and they do something this year that has them as a 6-win team, and then she's reactive about it, it's not on them. I don't think. I mean, if that's what they've told her is going to happen, and she said okay, and then she comes around and fires people after what they told her is going to happen happens, it's her.
Well, but I think you're right. I think you're right, but I also isn't that kind of how she operates? Haven't we learned that at this point?
Yeah. Right. Well, I think all those guys over there are counting on change.
Do as she does, not as she says. Yes. Or believe as she does, not as she says.
Or, a tiger doesn't change her stripes or all of that. We could go on and on and on and on.
Good one.
But, at some point, I think all those guys think that they have a long-range plan and are going to be allowed to execute their long-range plan. And look, what's your thing? My boss told me I could execute this long-range plan.
Right.
If she doesn't let me execute this long-range plan, well, she gave me a long contract.
Yeah, it's true.
She does like paying people to not work for her.
She does.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you do?
Jabari.
Otherwise, you're pasting together a team trying to get a couple extra wins. And is it real? I mean, is that the way to go?
But see, that's why as we go through all this stuff, I just think they're probably going to draft Cam Ward. And then they're going to tie everything to that.
Right. But even if you do that, fixing all the rest of this stuff.
No, but at least then if he shows something this year, then you can be like, okay, see,
right.
This is the future.
Hope. There's our hope. There's our hope. Yeah. Completely possible.
Jabari on the YouTube chat says, I think they want Cam Ward, but are hoping the Giants up their offer to include a future first. Maybe, but if you actually want Cam Ward, does it really matter what the Giants offer?
Yeah,
that's wanted. Do you want or want-ish?
Yeah, there's a lot of buzz about that. Like they like him, but if somebody knocks their socks off, they'll go. I think all three of us agree. That shouldn't be how it works.
Yeah,
you either love him and you take him, or you don't love him and you trade out. You don't love him, in quotes, but are willing to deal out if the offer's right. In that case, you don't love him.
I would agree.
Do you like or do you like? It's like
Yeah.
junior high.
Yeah.
615.
Check this box.
737-1025. More coming up next with PK, Robby, and Rexrode. 1025-1063 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5-1063 The Game. Taking your thoughts on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Check out Nashville's best deal this week. It's Boom Ba's Pizza and Watch Bar. Just in time for the SEC tournament. Score half off a $30 gift card. Enjoy their award-winning pizza and handcrafted beverages. Visit them in Nashville, Spring Hill, or Murfreesboro. Visit thegamenashville.com/deals while supplies last. Paul Kuharsky from paulkuharsky.com is with us here on the program. Sadiq Charles apparently coming out of retirement. So retired, did not want to play for the Tennessee
jump
Titans.
on that guy. A
Text
guy
line.
who left the Titans, came in as a Bill Callahan guy and left without explanation, without having a conversation with Bill Callahan.
Yeah.
That's a
Bill wasn't too
guy
happy.
I want.
Yeah, a lot of buzz
He's
about
got
that.
the itch again. He's ready to play ball.
Yeah, it's great. A lot of buzz about Flacco too. We haven't talked about Joe Flacco. How about anything about Joe Flacco?
I think he's super old, but I mean, you put him in the basket with these other guys, and
Minshew? We never talk about Minshew.
Minshew's tough. I mean, you want. Look, I'm not saying these other guys are super consistent, but I think Minshew, if you're scoring all of these guys on consistency, he would be the bottom guy, right?
He's all over the place.
Some
He is.
Sundays be terrific, but some Sundays you'd be like, how is that guy on the field?
I mean, Jameis is kind of similar in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah. But Jameis's highs
Are very
are
high.
way higher
Yeah.
than Minshew's
Yes.
highs, right?
Yes. And then there's Marcus.
Jameis is going to give you 400.
Marcus needs to go
Get
back
the
to where he was.
Marcus out of your mouth, everyone. It's just not.
How
it's-
dare
it's
you,
not
Will.
happening.
You
Oh
see
my
that
God!
number 8?
I've taken a lot of grief
It's
because
mine.
I
That's right.
spoke poorly about Marcus. This Marcus love affair with Marcus is just.
I don't
ridiculous.
think any fans want Marcus as the starter, but it's like, why not Marcus?
Oh,
be the
I
mentor?
have seen
Because
if
it-
you're going to
well,
have
okay,
a
let's
stopgap
Bringing
QB,
back a
get him
guy
back.
who failed for you massively is not how the league works, and it shouldn't. Hey, there's a guy that we drafted at the top, and it didn't work out. Let's bring him back as our backup.
Hey, there's a guy who's worse, but
Well-
since it wasn't here, let's go get him in
Let
the
me tell you a
way,
secret.
I'm
Let me
sure
tell you a
he'd be
secret
thrilled,
about
too.
Marcus Mariota. You're not going to know this number. In 4 years as a backup, he missed 14 games. In 4 years as a backup, he missed 14 games hurt.
It's hard to do.
I need my backup available.
You can't screw it up.
That's worse
If you're
than
not
Mason
on the
Rudolph.
field, you can't screw it up.
That's worse than Mason Rudolph coming in and turning the ball over. Is
Wow.
not being available.
Wow, Marcus is out again, huh? How about that?
Well, back to Will. Back to the other 8. They can just trade 8 back and forth.
Anybody at edge rusher stand out to you that's still out there that you'd like to see the Titans pursue? Because as you know, we've talked about wide receiver being a massive black hole for this franchise right now.
Yeah.
Look at edge rusher.
It's not
Good
far
gracious.
behind.
It's bad.
I mean, they have, they really are. Arden Key, your lead guy. It's kind of scary. It's very scary.
And by the way, to that point, what did you make of Landry getting the deal with New England up there in Vrabel?
Charles Omenihu from Kansas City, who's a year removed from torn ACL,
Yep.
is the edge that interests me at this stage. Who were the Patriots bidding against for Harold Landry?
I don't know.
To
Yeah, a
give
little
him
more
that
than I
money.
thought he'd get.
It's too much. It's crazy.
But I'll say
he's going to
this.
give him snaps, and he'll be a solid player that's not that productive in the sack range, and he'll help set an ethic. But that money's crazy.
The money's high. I still, and this, I think the same thing with NWI. I still think like you know, if you're not spending as much, I mean, with the Titans, obviously it would have been a pay cut. It would have been worth having him here. You have nobody. You have nobody in the edge. You have nobody in the receiver room.
Well, he wouldn't take
Both of those guys.
Landry wouldn't take a pay cut.
Well, that's he just
And
did
he
take
well.
a pay cut.
Well, he got 14.5, which isn't that far from 17.5. I don't think the Titans are giving him 14.5, and he didn't want a pay cut. He wanted to go somewhere else. He did.
He went somewhere else to get a pay cut. But okay, yes,
Yeah,
I
he's
understand
willing
he
to
got
take
away.
less money to go get a fresh start, and it'll probably be good for him. But I can't believe he got that money.
I will say for Vrabel though, to get Milton Williams, that's big time.
Yeah.
Milton Williams, big time for the Patriots, and Carlton Davis, Vrabel. The only problem is he didn't get NWI, which is just shocking.
That's not
It really
shocking.
is.
Oh God, that's his guy. Aaron Brewer,
He
NWI.
loved NWI because NWI
Ackerman.
did the right things. But who do you think he's talking about when he told who was it? Who the hell are we going to throw to? We got no speed. Who do you think he's talking about?
Well, I understand he's not bringing him in as his number one receiver, but I mean, he's absolutely. We were just talking about him bringing in Landry, who we know is past his prime. I mean, NWI, yeah, he's not fast, but he's a good guy to have in your receiver room. I will stick to that.
All right, so how about this? Keezer's just sent me a tweet from your boy Jordan Schultz.
Ah,
The Titans finalizing a one-year deal with Van Jefferson. There you go.
Okay. Yep, I saw your tweet about that.
So,
I don't hate that.
How about another?
I mean, he's a back end. Went to Ravenwood High School while Sean Jefferson was coaching the Tennessee Titans wide receivers. So Jordan Schultz broke that.
How old is Van Jefferson?
He is 28, I believe.
Wait, Jordan Schultz broke it? Okay, that
George Schultz is the tweet I was sent. I don't know if he's had.
So on Friday, PK, you got to put a big breaking and then tweet about Van Jefferson.
Yeah, here 2 days
with no credit for Jordan Schultz.
Hey, Van Jefferson's coming in. Van Jefferson last year with the Steelers had 24 catches, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns. So
how many games did he play?
He played 17.
Okay.
He started 12 apparently, but he played 17.
Might be slowing down a little bit then, because I mean, I think of him, with the Rams.
He had one good year with the Rams. He had in 2021, Van Jefferson had 50 catches for 802 yards, 6 touchdowns.
We're going back that far, huh?
Yeah. Okay. And ever since then, it's been
he was
24 for 360, 20 for 209, 12 for 101, 24 for 276.
Well, thank you for the numbers. I now feel worse about this.
Yeah, no, it's
at first I'm like, yeah, okay.
It's not.
It's like one of the, the name. You're like, yeah, I've seen him make some plays. Oh, that was in 2021.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they need
guys.
bodies. They need bodies
right
in the
now.
receiver room. So
he is an actual body.
He is. Oh, and look, can he be your 5th guy? That's
right now he's your
now he's your third
guy, and that's giving Bryce Oliver a hell of a
heck of a jump.
I'm giving Bryce Oliver that ahead of Traylon Burks.
Traylon Burks is your 8th guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're listing them, you can't
exist.
put Traylon Burks behind Kinsey, Colton, Jaquan Jackson, who can't be on the roster as far as I'm concerned, Stanley Morgan, Tay Martin. I mean, you have to put him ahead of those guys.
Stanley Morgan from the Patriots in 1985?
His son, I believe.
Is it his son?
I think.
I'm just glad the Titans didn't cut Traylon Burks to save on the cap there, because they'd be in some serious trouble at wide receiver if they did.
I got it a plan, guys, for you to save a little money. just hear me out.
But this goes in line of what we're like. I would not be done signing wide receivers around the Titans. Look, I'm with everybody who doesn't love the idea of like a Diggs or a Mike Williams. I don't love those guys either, but you have to have people that can play the position.
The guy there was Godwin, and it was clear Tampa Bay, New England made a charge, reportedly, which I believe, and he decided to stay with Tampa. Now, he got seriously hurt, but everybody believes he's going to rehab, and out of all of those guys, he was the guy, right? But all those other guys, 30-year-old receivers, they're available for a reason.
I get it, but with the position the Titans are in right now, don't you kind of have to go get one of those guys and just see?
Well, you might end up with one of those guys in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
When they've just sat there.
Yeah.
And nothing's happened.
Like Diggs is Diggs considered radioactive in this league at this point, and now hurt and old, you know what I mean?
He's been a pain in the ass.
He has been, but I mean, if the price goes down to a certain point, okay.
Yeah, same thing with him. Amari Cooper is not the attitude stuff that Diggs had, but it kind of felt like he is completely fallen off the table. But if he sits around long enough,
he's not bad.
Yeah.
You can't bring him in and look to him like you look to Julio Jones.
No.
Thing, right?
Well,
and
at the time we thought Julio Jones was still in his prime.
I know, but you can't bring him in and think that he's right there with Ridley. But he's going to want to come in and think he's right there with Ridley. So it takes a lot of massaging, right? You really got maybe you put Nick Holtz on him and say, Nick, you become his friend, and you let him think that he's, right there with Calvin. And when he's not, you're the therapist.
Yeah, come clean up. Yep.
Sounds fun. Is that what the OC does when they're not a play caller? That's why I've been wondering.
Hey, Nick,
I'm
got a very
finding
important
I'm
job for you.
finding something for him to do that I think could be beneficial to the organization.
Would you have any interest?
And now
in,
Mike McCoy's probably taking some of his old duties, whatever they were, and so I'm finding something good for Nick to do.
Yeah.
You don't like that assignment?
I mean, yeah, sure.
Would you have any interest
Something.
in Tyler Lockett?
Tyler Lockett is a little bit more interesting
32?
than some of these guys.
32?
Small, right? How can he run? Let's look at some film of how he can run.
Would this Tyler be better than the last Tyler who was so underwhelming last year?
I don't know.
You guys were talking about James Foster, who's doing great work at my site. Thanks for realizing that he's with me.
You're welcome.
I forgot.
Terrific. You didn't forget.
Well, I
You
was
never
reading
did.
on the 33rd team. Like,
Well, that's old stuff of the 33rd team and new stuff at paulkuharsky.com. But in the piece that I'm going to post shortly, he talked about a couple guys he'd still like them to see them get. And his kicker was a receiver. There's really nobody there. But at this point, anybody but I can't remember the other guy or Van Jefferson.
Yeah.
Anybody but.
Well, here we go.
Anybody
Van
but
Jefferson
Van.
on down.
Come on in, Van.
By the way, fun fact, just realizing, looking at Tyler Lockett on Google, exact same age as me, same day, same year, same everything.
Oh, birthday buddy.
Hey, come on in, Tyler.
We need him here for birthday buddies.
One more segment with PK coming up next. Get to more of your Titans thoughts. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. St. Patrick's weekend, we're celebrating in East Nashville. Come out, join 102.5 The Game in 5 points for the official Nashville St. Patrick's Day Parade presented by Aer Lingus, kicking off at 10 a.m. this Saturday. Live Irish music, drink specials, family fun all day long, and 102.5 The Game will be on site from 9 to 11 a.m. with swag to give away. Sign up for your chance to win concert tickets as well. Join us coming up from 9 to 11 a.m. on Saturday. We'll be there with that. PK with us for one more segment here. Joe, some things on the Chad Brinker front that you wanted to get to.
Well, a lot of people have asked about this. We've addressed it, but I'd like PK to address it. It's kind of two things. One is, the tweet from Schefter about how Brinker negotiated the contract with, this agent. So we have this new really annoying trend with the newsbreakers of now let's name the agents who did the deal. So we must, we're already letting them write our tweets, and now we must, and they're writing their own names into our tweets. But people are asking PK, well, so who is the GM? Chad Brinker is negotiating this, and I say, Brinker's been at the top of the pyramid the whole time. So, however they've split up duties, he's the top of the pyramid.
Look, the four of them are working very closely. Brinker, Borgonzi, Reggie McKenzie, Dave Ziegler. They're one big conglomerate, right?
Collaboration.
So they're making a decision on stuff. Then does it matter who's making the phone call or doing the negotiation? They've done this before. Brinker did a lot of the Snead work because he and Borgonzi on the other side at that point with Kansas City knew each other. So I have no problem.
Well.
If you happen to know the agent or know the guy in the front office or whatever, it makes perfect sense that somebody else, and I have no doubt that on the other end, like Reggie McKenzie may be the point man on something because he knows somebody, or Ziegler, and certainly Borgonzi.
When they trade for NWI,
Right,
realize they need him back. Yeah.
So I don't think there's any big thing to who's doing the actual processing of stuff once a decision's made. And Borgonzi's at the head of the decision making. With Brinker, we know, over the top.
And what about these
things?
What about your guys? How come you're attacking Jordan Schultz? Do you understand?
These things,
that dude's a lot bigger than you.
Yeah, these things where, first off, on the mentioning the agent and stuff. So I'm going to tell you the deal, and I'm going to tell you who made the deal. But that guy gave me all the information in the quote. So why not just say deal done by Drew Rosenhaus, who told me this?
Yeah.
So
you have to say
in
sources.
In journalism, it used to be the biggest thing to get it on the record. Oh, if I could only get this on the record, I have to settle for it off the record.
Anonymous sources at all
My
costs.
boss is going to hate that I can't get this on the record, and I have to clear it with him and everything. Now they're bending over backwards. They're mentioning the source, but not saying he's the source. It's so corrupt and backwards and terrible. So
I never thought about it that way. That is interesting.
Jordan Schultz is trash.
Really so
Jordan
dumb.
Schultz, I beat Jordan Schultz by 2 hours on Lord Cushenberry tearing his Achilles. 3 hours. He puts it out as breaking. I DM him my story. He's like, huh? Like what? Like you don't know. I go, this is 3 hours old, and you just tweeted it out as an exclusive. And he goes, oh, my bad. I missed it. I go, well, there it is now. You could easily just put a tweet under your tweet saying, my bad, Kuharski had this 3 hours ago. And he says, get this. He says, oh, I'd hate to bring it up again. This is such a difficult time for Lloyd.
He's got
I said,
very compassionate of him.
I said, Jordan,
I really appreciate that.
You could give me any horse bleep excuse you want, but Lloyd Cushenberry knows he tore his Achilles. It's not an issue. Now he does it again to the point where Dubin and I got into a thing about it because Dubin's giving him credit for a story that was 2 days old from me, that all of the top prospects were coming here to visit the Titans before free agency started. Now Hunter's got delayed. He reported the exact same thing 2 days later and was getting credit nationally. So now I'm just going to start when I report things. I think I reported Mike McCoy was joining the Titan staff, and I said, Jordan Schultz will report this 2 days from now. It's exclusive.
Look,
he's done this to a lot of people.
By the way,
kind of a thief.
Real quick on that, I will say, Schefter, Rappaport, they never credit each other. They never do.
No.
They never say Rappaport had it first or Schefter. They never do that. They do not acknowledge each other. I'm not saying it's
Which is
right or
crap.
wrong, but yeah, I'm
Well,
just
the
saying.
Athletic has a bad habit of this too. They don't. When they match something, they then don't credit, which means they don't realize, like, if you went and matched the Mike McCoy story, which is not a big deal, that the Titans were hiring Mike McCoy, they think, well, that's fun. Well, you never would have asked if the Titans hired Mike McCoy, but for the first report.
That's true.
So matching it, you're only matching it because of the initial report. In my world, you're obligated to say it was first reported by paulkuharsky.com, which is what I do with everything. I'm not asking that question, but for the first report. Oh, you just thought to ask if they hired Mike McCoy out of thin air? That's a bad policy by the Athletic. You should admit that.
By the way,
Get off my case.
really is a shame today
He
that
can't say anything
we
about
did
the
not have
Athletic.
time to get to
He's been demoted to college
a
basketball. Who knows what's
potential
next?
quarterback solution for the Titans. Apparently, Joe Milton could be out there and available. We'll see.
Yeah, they love Joe Milton so much that they brought in Dobbs to replace him, and they're trading him. That's what Jordan Schultz said. That's how much agents shape things.
PK, thank you for being
Don't
with us.
block the box. Be sure to lock the locks.
Hope
Thank you.
everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. Chasing Big
Apologize.
Joe is coming up next.
No
You're listening to 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Sip.